The one on the diocese mandated that we had two. We were going to use one of them for a cry room, but they said, no, we have to have two bedrooms. So the one on the left will be only behind the screen. There will be no opportunity in that one for face-to-face. The one on the right is the more post-Vatican II reconciliation room. Okay? So we'll have two of them. I'm probably only going to hear behind the screen in the new church. Since the scandals, the Vatican gave priests permission to only hear behind the screen if they feel more comfortable doing that. So that's probably what I'm going to do. Anyway, so let's go this way, the main doors into what is called the nave. The nave.
The nave.
Right here, let me get in front of you. All right. Now, in the years, it took maybe a whole year of arguing with the archdiocese planning committee and the architects about the interiors. We always anticipated to have beams, but the architects and the diocese were kind of at odds with the look of the beams. And what you see being constructed is the final solution we came up with, which is stunning and beautiful, and I love it. And it cost us $300,000 extra. Yes. But look, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. So the dark wood, what we're going for here, of course, is an English collegiate look. And we wanted a church that would be in the traditional cruciform shape, in the shape of a cross. And we wanted a church that would look like it belongs on the OU campus, okay? And I think we're gonna get that. I think if you go to the old Bazell Library reading room, you're going to kind of get the ethos that we were hoping to kind of evoke with this. But the beams, I think, are going to be a very attractive feature. And notice the architectural kind of trick of the eye. It makes it almost look like a vaulted ceiling because the beams will be curved. Not a vaulted ceiling, but it's going to kind of look like one. Above you will be the Saint Cecilia statue, the patron saint of musicians. She will be here. Who is up in the choir loft? Who is that? Oh, Gianni. So she will be there. The choir railing. Again, that's something we kind of fussed and feuded about, how to make that attractive. I think the compromise works very well there. Between the windows on the lower level will be the Stations of the Cross. And you see the one that's in our atrium now, but it will be framed in a dark wood frame. So it won't just be hanging on the wall. It will be framed like a little shrine unto itself. We don't have the money for any more stained glass windows, but we do have two Lamb of God there. Can't really see it right now. But there above in the choir loft, Mary, Mother of the Church. And in that window, she's holding a replica of this church. Now, Mary, Mother of the Church is a relatively new feast that Pope Francis mandated. So we will be one of the first churches with that artwork, which I think is kind of cool. All right? So these will be pews on either side of the long center aisle. I wanted a bride's church. I wanted a church that would attract weddings. And that's what we're getting with this. This is going to be a classic bride's church. All right, come forward, be careful, be careful. standing right now is called the crossing. So you have the narthex, the nave, and now you're in the crossing. And this was something I insisted on, traditional Marian sealing. So Marian blue, and then they'll come and hand paint. They'll hand paint. Wow, they'll hand paint the stars. Marian stars have 8 points, so there will be stars. So the idea is when you come up for communion or when you marry and do your vows here, you'll be under this beautiful Marian sky, which I think this will be one of the nicest features of the new church. And then these are called the transepts. And there you can see the real kind of effect of the darker wood, the warmth of the wood. There'll be lots of natural light in here. So it's not going to be a dark, dark church, but the dark wood will give it some warmth. On this wall, beneath that window, our present altar will be there. And that's where I will probably do daily Mass. We'll have chairs in the transepts. So pews in the nave, chairs in the transepts. We'll turn the chairs around here, and I can do the daily Mass there. And then here, I have a man building an altar, and I don't know if you've seen the wood statue we have of the Christ in repose. You see that more in European churches than in American churches, and that piece is from a European church that closed, a Belgian church. But he will be in that altar there in the glass, and there will be a kneeler where he can be venerated there, and we'll have candles on top of that. We'll have the Joseph, the Joseph statue of little baby Jesus behind the altar. He will be in that corner back there with votive candles. We're looking for a Marian statue for that corner. We're not having much luck with that. We've turned 2 away because they arrived and they weren't what we had asked for. So pray that we find a fitting Marian statue for devotion and votive candles. Now, this is kind of an exciting thing. So the marble statue behind the altar, it's not Mary, it's not Jesus, it's St. Agnes. She's holding the little lamb. And she's the patron saint of the betrothed couples. So when you become engaged, she's one of your patron saints. She will be here. She will be right here. And then St. John Vianney, patron of priests and seminarians, will be right here. And then St. Thomas Aquinas, patron of students, will be here. These are marble statues on pedestals, matching pedestals. And then St. Scholastica, patron of test takers and weather, because of the weather center. We chose her for that. She will be here. So I was looking for statues that would fit the unique ministries and needs within our church. So we'll have 4 marble statues, and then you see these areas between the beams here. Okay, they're calling them bays. So we have 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, we have more, but we didn't have money for 4 more. So we only had money for 4. They're painted by hand. They're painted to look like tapestries, but they're not tapestries. Just we can't afford a tapestry. We'll have 4 of them. And the one over there, Mary always needs to go on the north side. Okay, so Mary always should be on the north side. It's an east-west church. So Mary, Our Lady of Walsingham, which is the big shrine in England, and Thomas More visited Our Lady of Walsingham's shrine not long before he was arrested. So he did a pilgrimage to Our Lady of Walsingham. So Our Lady of Walsingham will be in that bay there facing the nave. And she's on a throne and she has the baby Jesus. It's a very nice image, actually. And it's still a pilgrimage site. said that what we should do is petition to be the diocesan shrine to Our Lady of Wolsey. So I'm probably going to petition the bishop to declare our church that too. And then right there is Thomas More. All right, so Our Lady of Wolsey, St. Thomas More. Here will be St. George slaying the dragon. Why? Why St. George?
Patron saint of England.
Patron of England. Thank you. Thank you. So I wanted the church to tell the story of Thomas More's faith and life in the context of his culture and his times. All right. So Our Lady of Walsingham, and then St. George, patron of England. He would have had a devotion to him. And then here will be St. Joseph and the boy Jesus. So Mary's almost always shown with the baby Jesus. Joseph is very often shown with the child Jesus. And he'll have the child Jesus. Now here's the funny thing about this, but don't tell me. The legend in England is that St. Joseph of Arimathea and Jesus visited England when Jesus was a boy. And I knew of this. I'm an Anglophile, right? But I knew it as St. Joseph and the child Jesus went to England. So I asked for St. Joseph and the child Jesus, and that's what they produced. And then I'm like, Joseph or Joseph of Arimathea? Well, it's Joseph of Arimathea. But, okay, close enough. We don't have a Joseph of Arimathea yet, but we will at some point find that. So that's the artwork here. It'll be beautiful artwork. And then the 6 niches on either side of the window, okay? On this side, Catholics who died at the same time Thomas More. So the first one will be John Fisher, who was a bishop, and he was arrested by Henry VIII, and the Pope thought, okay, if I make him a cardinal, Henry VIII will not touch him. So he made John Fisher a cardinal, and Henry VIII executed him anyway. So it's Cardinal John Fisher, and then other martyrs, I think 2 women, the Pearl of York. There's one woman that's being featured, she hid priests. Because what happened in England was once the Reformation hit and Henry VIII outlawed the church, the Catholic Church went underground. And there were people who would hide priests. Priests would be smuggled into England, and they would go to these secret places to do Mass for the Catholics. And this one woman, Jane, I can't think of her name right now, but anyway, she hid priests. They found out, they put her to death. She was actually, they put a board and put weights on, she was crushed to death, actually. We're not depicting that. But anyway, so 6 martyrs of the English church, right? And then on the other side, 6 other saints venerated in the English Catholic Church, including John Henry Newman, who is just now being declared a saint. He's been blessed, John Henry Newman, but he will be Saint Henry Newman this month. We will have one of the first images of him as a full-blown saint. All right, see where that metal thing is? All right. Here's the story. Originally, I wanted rose windows. That's what I said. We wanted a church with rose windows. Our original church on Boyd has a big, huge rose window. And it didn't happen. We didn't get a rose window. And these are really almost like ocular. They're very small windows, actually. But they turn out fine. I love them. That's fine. But the original idea was that the cross would be in front of the window, and the light from the window, the rose window, would stream past the cross, right? That was my vision. So they do all this, and then we get this window installed, and it's pretty, it's beautiful. But the cross, this huge metal cross, would obscure it. And when it wasn't going to be figurative, that was fine. So we're arguing, meaning I'm arguing with the architect on what to do with our crucifix. I want the crucifix right under the window, on the wall, right under the window. He doesn't seem to think that can happen, so it'll be there somewhere. I promise. We will have a crucifix. Nathan Deal. Nathan, the altars will be ready, right? Nathan is constructing our altars. Yeah. Freestanding altar will be here. The high altar where we will put the tabernacle, and it will have the wooden statue of Thomas More and the wooden statue of St. Mary. Okay? So high altar, freestanding altar, and then we have this beautiful ambo. I don't know if you've seen photos of it. It will go here. So this will be your church. This is, yeah. It was originally, we were told it would cost us $4.6 million. It's coming in now at $8 million. Yeah, never believe them when they give you a quote. If I've learned anything, it's like, don't believe them. It will be ready by May of 2018, and it will cost $4.6 million. It will be ready December of 2019, and it will cost $8 million. Now behind there's a big sacristy. If you want to go back there and look at that, it may be dark, but be careful. Any questions? That's basically the tour.
All right, so help me thank Father Jay for the tour.
All right, just do me a favor. $10 Sunday. So if you don't go to Dallas, give me $10. I need all the cash I can get. All right.